Hey everyone, in today's video I'm doing literally the biggest unboxing and setup video yet. Let's get something in there for scale. This is the Eizo CG277 and the box is enormous. Let's open it up, set it up and talk you through why I got this one. So I talk a lot about gear. The motto of course is get your gear out. It's about getting out there and shooting rather than sitting at home doing your research. But of course, as someone who prints books and does print my images, I need to consider my editing process. So I'm big on color management. I calibrate all my monitors and my workflow when I'm shooting in tricky situations for print. I also calibrate my individual frames by, calibrating the shots, taking color reference shots. And I've been using the same monitor for a long time. I was fortunate to use a higher end monitor to edit my last book, but I'm working on more books and I want to make sure that I'm really getting the best results that I can. So let me pop this down beside me. So that's a bit better. It's a funny thing that people often think with monitors they can compare spec sheet to spec sheet and really consider that to be indicative of the results you're going to get. It's true of everything, I guess. It depends on how the build quality is and how all of those numbers are actually put into application. When I shared with people that I was planning to get this one, I got a lot of people saying, oh, just get any IPS monitor, it's all the same. But that's really not true. I mean, that's like saying, so I've got a certain resolution IPS monitor, so it's as good as another certain resolution IPS monitor. That's like saying my camera's got a 24 megapixel CMOS sensor in it. That's just the same as every other 24 megapixel CMOS sensor. Is it in a smartphone? Is it in a point and shoot camera? Is it in a professional DSLR that's built well and has incredible dynamic range and stuff? The same variation's true with monitors. So what have I got out here already? We've got a screen cleaning kit, handy. That is the DVI cable, the mini DP to DP cable, USB cable, and then the IEC 2-meter power cable. And in here, this will be the hood, which I will set up later. Editing monitors usually come, well, it's often optional, but this one comes with it, with a hood. Okay. So that's the majority of it out of the way now. So why did I go for this one? Well, I did my own research, of course. I recommend you always do your own research, but I got really lucky. I met with a guy. His name is Professor Howard Kim, and he is like the color management expert of Asia, probably the world. He's literally a professor in color management, and he consults with all the big companies to test and give feedback on monitors. And after lots and lots of chats, long story short, he said if you want the best color accuracy, uniformity, then there's no compromise. This is the best one that I can be looking at. So for me, that was good enough. And I've got to point out, when I said that you can't just compare specs to specs, to use an analogy that a lot of people will be familiar with cameras and lenses, when people talk about what's the contrast ratio, what's the colors that are able to be displayed, it's often just this central part, which is the easiest to get right, like the sharpness on a lens or the detail you're getting from a sensor. The corners are much more difficult, but of course you want to be able to edit with the whole screen. So this one has the best color edge to edge consistency in tone and in contrast ratio, all of that kind of thing. And it only needs a few minutes to warm up to be at accurate colors instead of like half an hour a lot of monitors recommend. And this one's got a little calibration tool built in that'll calibrate itself at regular intervals, so you don't need to think about it. So let's actually set this one up and do the initial calibration. Calibration.
So of course this has direct access to all kinds of different controls, not that you need them because it calibrates itself. Plus it's got all the usual inputs and a few more, power and the standard power cable, DVI, HDMI and DisplayPort which goes straight to the Thunderbolt out and will take 4 and 2K, and then 2 USB in and outs. So I'm setting this one up on my MacBook Pro first of all, so I just plugged in the USB, then the DisplayPort, switched it on, there we go.
So the hood comes in a bunch of different pieces, but that's because it's modular and you can use it with your monitor in either landscape or portrait orientation. Quite handy, they're all actually individually numbered, so it comes together nice and quick. The longest part is actually getting them all out of their individually wrapped bags, which they do, I guess, so they don't get scratched, and because they're all kind of nice and softly lined on the inside, giving it that super matte result that will really cut down the light.
The sides click together in pieces, then there's just little mounting points on the back, and it all hooks together really easily. Then there's a flap at the top that you can open up to put a calibrator over if you wanted to use an external one. Yeah, the whole thing took about 30 seconds once they're out of the bags. Okay, so next step, I had to go onto the Eizo website to download the software. Obviously, neither of my Macs have an optical drive, so have to download the DMG. So just went in, grabbed the one for my version of Apple, installed it, usual process, nothing special there. And let's now calibrate.
So, yep, I'm going to set this for photography. Yep, using the built-in measurement device, that's good. Over here it's got a little display saying that it's getting ready to do the calibration, and then this will show the swatches of color down in here, and that little colorimeter or spectrometer, whatever you call it, will do it all automatically. And there we go. So that set the contrast ratio at 735 and the white point at 5500. Now I'm actually going to go through and do a custom one, because I want the white balance and everything just a little bit different to that. I'm going to go into advanced. Self-calibration. So first of all, I'm going to set this up so that it calibrates itself every week. And yep, Sunday will be fine. And saying don't use it whilst it's in use, but so then that'll just once a week, it'll go through and calibrate itself. That's pretty great. Then I'm going to create my own target. Selecting the gamut, it knows what it is. It's very self-aware. I'm going to set the brightness to 100. Now you can actually extend it, gives you a warning, and go all the way like up to maximum over 200, but that's too much, so I don't need that on. I'm just going to do it to 100. I'm going to do my white point at 6500. That's good for me. And then on the next one, I want to set the black point to actually 0.4, not 0.2. Now, the reason for that is it's more realistic in terms of printing. 100 to 0.4, even though everyone loves, like I said, specs to show contrast ratios of 1000 to 1 or whatever, the screen can do it, but it doesn't mean it's going to be suitable for your application. You want to set it up based on what you're actually doing. Okay, target name, I'm just going to call that photography book settings. Finish. Okay, and then we're going to get it to do its thing one more time. So all set up and ready to go. Now, I hope it's clear to people why you want to be using a color calibrated system. I bang on about this all the time on the channel. If you're trying to color correct or edit your shots and you're not seeing what's actually in the file, you're basically doing it in the dark. You don't know if you're moving things in the right direction or if they needed to be adjusted in the first place. Beyond color calibration, the reason why a great monitor like this is important, it shows you so much of the color range. It shows you lots more colors. It's accurate and consistent across the screen. It has bigger tonal range. It's more of, you're more accurately seeing exactly what's in your file. If you're using a good printer, they're going to be calibrated. So if you want to match, you need to make sure that you are as well. Now, of course, the CG277, it's the top of the line one they have. It's expensive and, well, it's the best one. So it will be overkill for some people. So, you know, if you're just getting started or if you're not printing anything just yet, it's probably overkill for you. I think they offer a whole range of different ones down to, you know, under $500 monitors. So think about what you're actually needing. If you're doing more gaming than photo editing, maybe your refresh rate's more important to you. But if you are doing anything where color accuracy is important, getting one that has a wide gamut and has a good color contrast is important. And then getting ones that have the uniformity and even color reproduction all the way to the edges, and then all of the other things about resolution and viewing angle are important as well. then that's where, you know, you start looking at these top of the line ones and having a hood for editing. As I print more and more, it's a good investment for me. I'm working on more books and I want to make sure that I'm getting the best possible results that I can. I'm shooting carefully, I'm using the gear that I want for a particular result. I want to make sure that last step in the process, the editing, is done with the correct colors. So leave me any questions or comments and I'll do another video down the track after I've been using this more, let you know what profiles I've set up for myself, what, you know, problems I've found, or how I'm finding it overall. Thanks, I'll see you soon.